Hi everyone, and welcome to the second monthly public delivery meeting for Panquake.com. My name is Suzie Dawson. I'm a founder of Panquake, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you tonight to give you tons more information and details about our amazing build of this next generation social media product. I will be joined a little later by my colleague Sean O'Brien, founder of the Privacy Lab at Yale University. But right now, we're going to jump straight into my presentation, take you through some slides, and update you on our campaign progress. So as you all know, we had a very successful first funding round for our campaign. We raised US $50,000 in only 23 days. And that answered for us the question of if we would be able to establish this business and be able to deliver a beta product. But of course, the question now is when. And the answer to that question will be determined by the strength of your support for this campaign and this product. And there certainly has been a massive outpouring of support over the course of the last month. Moving into the campaign statistics. Last month, you would have seen a screen just like this at our first delivery meeting. This month, it has been updated. So we are now 10 weeks since we launched the campaign on January 17th of this year. We have got 26 team members working on the build of our product, working in 5 business teams, and meeting 9 different times per week. We have provided 15 campaign updates on our Go Get Funding page. That is gogetfunding.com/Panquake. We have had an incredible increase in donors to our campaign. We are currently at 2,325 as of this morning donations received. That is an increase of 752 over the course of the last month. Our campaign donations as of this morning were $82,935, which is an increase of $25,538 in March. Our social media accounts are not the most reliable statistics in the world. I certainly don't have great trust in their integrity. However, on the face of it, we have increased our Twitter following by 551 people for a total of 3,408. And we are up 56 likes on Facebook to 914, which definitely doesn't seem to accurately reflect the increase in support that we've had on other platforms, but who knows what the real figures are. This is our 4th public event. And we now have performed a total of 11 independent media appearances. Hopefully you would have seen myself on Hard Lens Media this month. I also appeared with Graham Elwood on his show, The Political Vigilante, and of course with Jimmy Dore on The Jimmy Dore Show. You may have seen Taylor Hudak appearing with Steph, also known as Miserable Lib, which is Jimmy Dore's wife, on The Annalise Show. And possibly you would have seen Sean O'Brien also appearing on Graham's The Political Vigilante. All of these appearances are available on talkcollaboration.com, which is our visual media website. They also should be available on vimeo.com/Panquake. Right, getting into what everybody wants to know, which is how's the build of the product going? We move into our production metrics. So you may remember that last month I gave the totals of architectural documents that had been authored, of use cases, of workflows, of mock-ups of front-end screens. That process is now complete. We have completed that architectural design set, and that was why we were also able to show you our full front-end map of everything that is contained within our application. So now that we have that nailed down, we are moving into actually building it. So over the course of this month, we have put together in our GitLab, which is currently set to private as we build, but will be made public and released to you when we release our beta application. We have there already 8 JSON schemas. We have within that a library of objects that we have identified. These objects are what we will reference in our code to actually make things work. There are 125 objects identified so far, though that number will increase, as will the number of JSON schemas. We currently are mapping the methods by which we will push data through and around the network and between nodes. That is a core component of executing our network architecture. So if you've seen our tech deep dive stream that I did a little while ago, you would have seen our pictures of what our blockchain architecture looks like, what our network architecture looks like, what our server architecture looks like. What we're doing here by identifying objects, by identifying methods, is how we will bring that architecture to life and create a functioning application. So within that, we're also working on presently the organization of data. So this is what data resides on the user devices, what data resides on the blockchain, et cetera, et cetera. And within that, in our chain build, we've identified so far 11 different types of content that will be recorded on our blockchain. All of that content is content which is public facing. It's intended to be public facing by the user. It's not private data. It's not account data. So that's truly 11 pieces of content rather than any identifying information which will not be stored. And those 11 types of content, I should add, also do not include the metadata that is within each block. And that metadata only pertains to the block. Again, it doesn't pertain to the user. It's not private data. It's not account data. So that's where we're at with the back end of the build at present. This is probably the most crucial point because this is, as I said, what will allow us to realize the architecture and to functionally make the application work. And once we have determined these objects and methods, once we have completed our organization of data structures, that is when we can then code in accordance with that and complete the back-end build. From a front-end perspective, we are just light years ahead of where we had expected. We have determined every single site element. We have signed those off. We are nearly at the point where we will have our full set of end screens. We will then sign those off. At that point, those screens will get wireframed. So you see these yellow rectangles where we have something in progress, and the green is what we have completed. The red is what we have not yet done. Once those pages are wireframed, then they will begin to be built out. Once they have been built out, they will be tested. Once they're tested, we will begin integrating them in with the back end. So the big balancing act here is to make sure that the front end build of the application and the back end build of the application are in tandem, so that one is not getting too far ahead of the other. And at this point, I'm very confident that they will marry together quite nicely. So that's all fine and well for technical progress, but there are other aspects of the business that also need to be progressed. And one of the big questions we ask ourselves often is, what would you like? What would the user like? What would the community like to see from us? We have a lot of event videos, a lot of technical videos, a lot of lengthy streams and interviews with supporters. What we don't have is short, pithy, punchy marketing videos. So one of the things that is going on right now from our marketing team is the creation of a series of short thematic promo videos for Pancake.com. We also are fleshing out, as promised, the goodies page on Pancake.com. This is where we will have downloadable content, printable content, all different types of files that you can utilize either in soft or in hard copy. And also, probably most exciting of all, at least for me, because I'm dying, to be honest with you, to get a new coffee cup, is to have a panquake.com shop. And that will be hosted on panquake.com. You will be able to buy Panquake merchandise. I will get a new coffee cup. I'm sure that other people will have a whole bucket list of ideas of things they'd like to see there. And we will do our best to fulfill your every desire on that front. So those are the marketing projects ongoing. But now I really wanted to talk to you about Panquake, the business, and how it functions, because it's extremely important to me that we're not an opaque organization, that we are an organization that really, I want everybody who has supported us to know what is being done with the resources they've given us. And so I went to some of our core staff this week and I asked them to give their insights from their eyewitness perspective of what Panquake actually is as a business and how it functions. So I've taken these testimonies and brought them to you so that you can have the benefit of their insight. So first of all is operations. Kitty Hundle is our Chief Operations Officer. She is in charge of our marketing team, of our business support team. She also overlooks our social media team. And her statement is as follows. Operationally, Panquake is a fully functioning professional organization. We've been working relentlessly since our launch in order to professionalize the business and build team cohesiveness. This process, in my opinion, has been a booming success. Documentation of our policies and procedures, as well as training materials for new recruits, is progressing well. The marketing team has been engaged in several exciting ongoing projects critical to the promotion of the business. The social media team, which is a subgroup of the marketing team, is growing consistently and is very active. The business support team is also active and engaged in building trust and positive relationships between Panquake and its user community. This is the team that handles our email communications and our direct conversations with our supporters. Despite the issues this month with sporadic hosting outages due to the Icelandic earthquakes, as well as DDoS attacks, the support team has, for the most part, maintained a 24-hour response time to all communications, as well as been responsive to issues and address them directly. I'm truly honored to work with such committed people on this project, which I believe will change the face of social media. So that's a pretty cool testimony in terms of somebody who's working on a daily basis in the operations of Panquake and knows from an insider perspective what it's functioning like. But our users are primarily interacting with our support staff. And so I also asked our support manager if she would write a testimony for us. And she said, as support coordinator, I feel honored to assist people who reach out to us with their questions and offers. My job is to respond to your messages received in our support and contact inboxes, and as needed, coordinate to get qualified persons to help me respond back. As a volunteer, I haven't always found it easy to be as prompt as I would like, so I thank many of you for your patience and reassure you that no one gets left behind. I also want to give you a full-throated shout out to the rest of our support team for so diligently taking on many of your inquiries. And I'm excited that with the beta release, a different live chat system will be installed to make our ability to respond to you so much better. Panquake's purpose is to protect our ability to know, engage in free discourse, and not collect our personal data to exploit or spy on us. I've witnessed in awe how our wonderful team members have consistently shown their commitment to protect Panquake for the ethical, vital meaning it carries. I've been seeing firsthand how much effort and joy goes into building it. I've also been seeing how the growing interferences to shut it down only manage to shine more light on our team members' passions to protect our civil rights amid the alarming threat of censorship. As has been expressed, Julian Assange called for the creation of a cryptographic platform that would protect the free flow of information. And through Panquake, we hope this can be fulfilled. As a full supporter of Julian, I've been so proud to take part in creating such a desperately needed platform. So the two types of attacks that we have been facing primarily over recent times are technological, in terms of DDoS attacks, which I did mention on the Jimmy Dore show recently, and actually a number of other strange technological issues we faced. But also primarily, there are some really nasty efforts to smear Panquake, its staff, and to try to dissuade people from supporting us. Now, that's totally to be expected. Someone said today, what was it? They said something really brilliant. They said, we aren't just trying to swim upstream, we're trying to swim up the Niagara Falls with this business. And that is really accurate. There are so many deeply moneyed and powerful interests that do not want this project to succeed, that I'm not surprised that there's teams of trolls and blog smear posts and all types of stuff being circulated. We've seen fake emails being written pretending to be us or supporters of us, insulting people, causing strife, causing drama. None of that is coming from us, but we're seeing it being circulated around in our extended circles. And also there's been lots of the typical, maybe Panquake will be vaporware. I mean, you can see we're not vaporware. We're here delivering highly technical information every month. But there's also concerns being seeded around funding. So I asked for our accounts administrator who oversees our funding, to also give her testimony. And so I wanted to read that for you today as well. She says, working in my role for Panquake, I have witnessed an overarching standard of professionalism in our accounting practices. Decisions are made as a group, following procedural guidelines, and recorded in detail in our accounting software. Our fundraising money is not a slush fund or a piggy bank, and this is reflected in that every penny is accounted for and reviewed thoroughly, following strict processes and procedures, and witnessed by several team members in our weekly meetings. Processes are in place to facilitate structured auditing, weekly bank reconciliations, and authorization of spending with oversight by the executive. Decisions on how funds are used are made based on business needs, urgency, and how best to match those needs to our budget and resources. In each meeting, balances are updated and reviewed, all data is accounted for, confirmed to be correct, and matching our profit and loss statements and our balance sheet. The current state of affairs is overwhelmingly supportive, positive, and solid. This applies both internally as we work hard in our roles to support each other, and also with our wider community acting as an extended family. One of the most amazing experiences of this journey is how the love and support is universal, on top of the well thought out structure and processes of this business, down to the finest of detail. You couldn't build such a lifeboat to our collective future without the sage wisdom, experience, and leadership that Panquake has. I've never seen anything like it. Everyone has a stake based on seeing the need and choosing to be a part of this. The determination to make it happen has resulted in great sacrifice and tremendous generosity of time and donations. I am confident in the foundation and processes of the way this business is run and the support and integrity that bolster it. Our future is thriving and growing by the minute. Our resilience has been relentlessly tested, and our soul as a culture, community, and company consistently bursts forth in stride. That's from our Panquake accounts administrator. So there are myriad people working in myriad places across the internet to support this business. And so I wanted to talk you through just quickly some of the digital assets that Panquake has accrued. Obviously, we have our awesome website, panquake.com, which has our campaign information and our product information. We also have a media website, talkliberation.com, which has our event videos, our short clips, our interviews, and a whole host of other visual media content. We have our Vimeo channel, our YouTube channel, and our BitChute channel, which also store videos. And very, very soon, we have our Substack account, which we have already claimed but have not yet posted to. This is in development, but this is going to be a major part of our public voice going forward, because this is going to allow us to speak to you in long form and in a text format. In terms of social media accounts, we have our Facebook account, facebook.com/talkliberation, where we love to use Facebook to promote Panquake. We also have an Instagram account because they force us to have one. And we have a LinkedIn account. Obviously on Twitter, we have got 5 different Twitter accounts. Now, I think we started with 7, but 2 of them, unfortunately, have been mysteriously suspended and not yet restored to us. And of course, we have our GitLab. So I just wanted to make everybody aware that those things exist and that we have amazing staff administrating over them. Now, in terms of our Substack, we are intending to author something that we've already been working on, which is a declaration. The declaration is a document that outlines our belief in the fundamental need, the fundamental societal need for Panquake and the solutions that it brings. And when thinking about how to put that together, we started to look at the different types of abuse that are being perpetuated against users by big tech. And some of you may be familiar with this wheel. This is a universally well-known abuse wheel and abuse figure. It's used by social workers around the globe to be able to identify abusive situations, domestically abusive situations or otherwise, and it details the different types of abuse. So when we studied this wheel, we realized that there are correlating types of abuse being waged against users by big tech. And we started to really identify what each of those was. And we've come up with this slide in order to relay to our audience and to our community the problems that we see with big tech and their treatment of users. So we've deemed this state and corporate technological violence against domestic populations perpetrated in our domestic spaces, homes, schools, workplaces, and vehicles. The reason we've called it state and corporate technological violence is because the big tech companies, as we know, as is established fact, are actually oftentimes staffed by at an executive level, but certainly partly or wholly owned by, and certainly collaborating with state and corporate agencies. So when we start to look through the different types of abuse, you can see here the types of things you'd expect and also some that you might not expect. And when we release our declaration, I will go through each of these items with you, but you're certainly welcome to examine them for yourself. So in the meantime, so we then flipped that coin and we looked at what is Panquake doing for users by comparison to this nightmarish situation that we have with big tech. And we came up with this figure. Panquake is protecting users, not abusing users. Panquake is liberating our communication spaces. That means transparent moderation. That means freedom of speech and association. That means no political policing. It means encouraging positive interaction and rewarding it, encouraging users to uplift each other and to build trust between them, respecting our users, not spying on our users, providing a network that is verifiably legitimate data that you can trust, restoring privacy for our users, giving our users autonomy, creating an environment where relationships flourish, where there is no timeline manipulation, no shadow banning, no filterverse, dissuading bots and fake accounts, because obviously it gets a lot harder to have a legion of fake accounts under a subscription model. Not demonetizing our users or waging economic warfare against content creators, as absolutely has been done by big tech. Not arbitrarily suspending users, providing a level playing field, providing transparent content moderation, focusing on accessibility, making our platform accessible to every human being, having an accountable ledger of admin interventions where we, in the rare cases where we will be forced to remove illegal content, we are making that as transparent as possible to you. Not profiling our users, not selling their data, not creating a caste system between the blue ticks and the non-blue ticks, you know, the haves and the have-nots, not advertising. It just goes on and on, really, what we are offering. No third-party marketing relationships. That's an absolutely huge one from my perspective. You can agree to one terms of service on a traditional corporate platform, and your data can end up with literally 500 different corporations around the world. No personalization algorithms. In fact, basically no algorithms at all. No cookies, no tracking, no collection of user data, and users owning their own personal data. This is the picture that Panquake is painting on a background that is full of corporate and governmental abuse of internet users. This is why we are willing to swim up the Niagara Falls if that's what it takes. And this is why we are calling for your support. So March is done with now. We've made great progress on the front end, great progress on the back end, great progress on the public campaign and media and marketing. We have a very bright future ahead despite whatever attacks are thrown at us. So moving into April, our next public delivery meeting will be April 24th, and I can't wait to show you the progress that we will have made by then. When we are able to complete this application will depend wholly on your support of it. So please visit gogetfunding.com/Panquake. Help us out, donate to us, support us, spread the word, tell everybody that this beautiful future can be realized. We're already working to get there. We're already working to bring it to you. Help us push it over the line. And with that, I will say thank you very, very much for your attention. And I will pass you over to Sean O'Brien.
Thank you, Suzie. As you said, and as I think your presentation shows, development on panquake.com is progressing at a very steady pace. Certainly, there's a lot of things about the project that are innovative, and at every single step of the way, respect for the end user has been very central. I know that's why I'm interested in the project, and that's why I hope you all will consider, donating and supporting the project as well. We're paying very close attention to the interaction between what is public on the blockchain and what the user should control privately on their own device. And the primary role for that blockchain is for transparency and verification for the user. And I just want to note, because I've seen a lot of comments sort of on social media, et cetera, this is a proof of authority model for the blockchain, not a proof of work model. So the environmental problems that may be associated with Bitcoin and some of these other technologies are not a problem for panquake.com. At any rate, my role, and certainly the thing that I care the most about for this project, where I think we can make some extremely awesome strides, are in the privacy and security realm. One major design characteristic that has been worked on over the past month has been client-to-client and potentially peer-to-peer WebSocket connections. And for those of you who are developers and may be familiar with that concept, this is a way for basically tunnels and groups of tunnels, these socket connections, to cluster groups of users together so that they can communicate to each other. What's exciting about what's going on with panquake.com, what we're planning to do with the network, is we can not only encrypt those tunnels, but we can do end-to-end encryption between the users. So a key exchange between the users that allows them to speak privately and allows their traffic to flow through the network and through the panquake.com servers, wherever they are, whichever servers they're talking to, in such a way that the traffic is not able to be spied on, not able to be available upon request, doesn't get logged, all of the things that happen in a social media network like a Twitter or a Facebook.com are by default, from a privacy by design perspective, not going to happen with pancake.com. So that's just a good example, and just one example about how we approach every single decision from the standpoint of privacy and also respect for the user. Um, and it does mean, of course, we're doing things in an innovative way, right? Moving towards that goal. Another thing which Suzie Dawson proposed this week, and which we talked about quite a bit, um, it's a simple thing, but it's the kind of thing that goes to show, the way in which we focus on the user. Um, in a typical social media network, or even, a client like Signal or Wire, one of these other end-to-end encrypted clients, you may have noticed that you can see which sessions are logged in, right? So you can see that there was a login from X computer in X location, on a Windows device or on a Mac or whatever. Well, Pancake.com wants to give you that kind of functionality so that you can, for example, know if someone is trying to log into your account or has been able to log into your account, right, from another device. But what we don't want to do is store that data anywhere, store that information anywhere, know anything about the machine that you're logging in from. So we've talked about ways where, for example, you can say, hey, there's multiple connections for my account. Let's refresh this connection, kick all those accounts out, and just start over, right? Not keeping information on your device, but still giving you that empowerment, that feature that allows you to make sure, if you accidentally logged in from the library or from your school or from your work and you forgot to log out, that you can sort of boot that connection and start fresh. Um, and that's the kind of thing that I think is really interesting here. There's a real opportunity, right, with pancake.com to reinvent the old sort of paradigms, to think differently, right, about the models that we've come to accept from these other social media networks, and even well-meaning software, right? Software which is not trying necessarily to spy on you, but which may, by some sort of quote unquote security feature, accidentally do so. We have the opportunity here to set that right, right, to make sure that that spying doesn't occur. That's something that I think is very much highlighted by the presentation Suzie gave. Um, it's easy to sort of focus on the things that are new about Panquake, the things that are new about the design of the network and the things we're going to do. But I think also we need to step back for a second and say, hey, what are we not doing? We're not doing artificial intelligence moderation of posts, right? We're not doing scanning of people's faces, right, with AI and storing them in a database, right? We're not, taking that information and creating shadow profiles of people who aren't even in our network, right? All of those things are stuff that happens on big tech social media. And it's easy for us to say, no, we draw a line. We're not going to do that stuff. And because we're not going to do it, of course, there's no engineering challenge there, right? So on the one hand, we have some very innovative, awesome stuff that we need to do for privacy and security that takes, some challenges and some serious thought and some serious engineering. But on another hand, there's a lot of, surveillance tech engineering that we don't have to do. So taking that lift off of our shoulders is a really awesome thing. Not sharing stuff with third parties. That takes away a huge amount of stuff that we just don't have to do with Panquake. So from a development standpoint, it's been very, very refreshing in that sense. It's a focus on the new, important, respectful things and not on the old, disrespectful surveillance stuff. So it's not a burden to focus on privacy in this way. It's very sort of refreshing and uplifting, especially for me and the other people involved in the product. That all said, we're not taking something that's already existing, like we're not just taking Mastodon or GNU Social or Pleroma or these other federated networks and just cloning their code and pushing it out. So it takes time, it takes planning. I think you can see from everything Suzie showed that we're progressing on that planning very quickly. But that is very, very important up front to save us issues down the road. Um, we'll be using free and open source software, as I've talked about previously. I'm extremely serious about free and open source software. I'm sure some of you have seen this week, I've been very vocal in the free software community, Free Software Foundation, etc. So I'm very much committed to the idea of us using good, solid free software licenses. We'll be using the AGPL primarily, their fair GPL for our front end. We'll be using the GPL, another copyleft license for chunks of code. And we may use so-called permissive licenses where we need to or where it makes sense to do so. So, we're making sure that we're creating that federated network, but also doing it our way, making sure pancake.com has its own solid structure, ingesting data where it makes sense, pushing data where it makes sense, and trying to make sure we sort of create this new world we want to see in social media, with fundamental principles of respect, privacy, and security. So the development work is progressing wonderfully. I hope to see you again next month. And hopefully you feel the need, and I think you should, to support our project. The more you can help us out, the faster this will go. We're looking to hire developers. That money goes directly to the hiring of developers, which will make sure the next time I'm able to speak to you all, we get that much further down the road. So thank you very much, and have a good night.